world issues. They just hear the term Illuminati, read a few message board posts about conspiracy theories, and now, you know, they think every rap artist is some kind of secret Satan worshipper. So my advice, you don't have to take it obviously, is to just limit the use of the term Illuminati. You know, don't get lazy and blame something on the Illuminati when you've done no research. Do the research and then you can talk about the facts without even mentioning the word. You know, people might say, oh, this strange incident must have been the Illuminati. Well, if you did the research and found the facts, then you don't have to use such words, do you? You can just say it was this guy, that happened, these are the facts. And also, just be careful with getting sidetracked into some kind of false music paradigm. You know, truth music with meaningful lyrics is a good thing, and if you're talented, then roll with it, we need you. But don't spend all day worrying about Lady Gaga. The entertainment industry itself is a distraction. You're just getting distracted on a different level. If you don't like it, don't even give it your energy. I'd sooner talk about things like the European Union or 7/7. And before we actually get to 7/7 today, I just want to clarify a point from last week's show about the EU. Staying sovereign from the EU is not about being proud to be British. This isn't an EDL, BNP kind of thing. To be quite honest with you, I'm not proud to be British at all. Why would I be proud of a fascist empire that has murdered and exploited millions for hundreds of years? I'm not here waving a Union Jack, you know, Queen and country. The Queen can go to hell. I think everything she stands for is a big part of the problem with the world today. The British people have no reason to be patriotic. That's not what this is about. A lot of people might dislike that Texan American patriot thing, where they're pro-gun and love their country, but at least they have a reason to. America was founded after breaking free from the British tyranny. They at least had a small period of freedom that they can look back to as an ideal time. You know, the constitutional republic that they were founded on is at least a set of ideals based on freedom. We've never had that here in Britain. We've just had an aristocracy and kings and queens and then an illusion of democracy. The reason I want England to stay sovereign is because I care about the average hard-working person in England that was sold a lie and that is stuck in this system that is raping them of their labour. Because the EU superstate is just going to make that a whole lot worse and take it around the whole of Europe. National tyranny is something we can theoretically manage. There are channels we can go through. It's easier to relate to people. Once we've won back our country, we can educate other countries. Once you get half the world in an EU superstate form of tyranny, then there's no going back, because the headquarters of the system, the head of the beast, is well beyond our reach. The pyramid gets a whole lot bigger when the world begins to merge together. We can deal with our own little pyramids to start with, then we can help each other. And once we get our country back, then we can address the other issues within the country, like getting rid of the Queen and things like that. This isn't about patriotism. I don't love my country. But getting out of the EU is a start, and it's the beginning of creating a country I can grow to love and get patriotic about. But we've done a good few minutes here, so it's probably best to move on and talk about the 7/7 inquest. I'm just going to play a quick clip from my documentary 7/7 The Big Picture while I get some notes together. Of course, you can watch it for free online in various formats, or you can purchase a DVD now through WideShut.co.uk. So here's a bit from the end of the film addressing the inquest and the premise of the inquest. The truth of the situation probably lies somewhere in between the first and second scenarios. But just how close are we to a full independent public inquiry? When in opposition to Labour, Cameron and Clegg played their role and supported an inquiry.
I think Tony Blair has made a mistake, frankly, in ruling this out of hand.
However, since the formation of the coalition government, like many promised policies, we've seen a 180, and the possibility of a real investigation looks slim. The recent inquests into the deaths of the victims and the alleged bombers appear only to be a formality, and will be drawn on the evidence already on record. MI5 flatly refused to hand over files about the bombers, saying it would be like handing over the keys to their headquarters. A sign of how interested authorities are in giving the alleged bombers fair representation was revealed in August 2010, when Mohammed Sadiq Khan's wife was refused legal aid, preventing her from posing questions to Lady Justice Hallett. There will be no jury, and survivors of the attacks will not be able to cross-examine witnesses. The public is in the same position as we were 5 years ago. It is up to us to make our own conclusions based on all of the evidence available to us. And welcome back to the WideShut Webcast on Resistance Radio. Now, this 7/7 inquest, as you can gather from that clip, isn't really about a reinvestigation. They're not going to change their mind about who did it, or why it happened, or why they did it. It's just an inquest into the deaths of the 52 people that died, and then the 4 bombers, which I think will probably be the most interesting part of the inquest, see if they bring out any more evidence. But really, the only question they have to answer in the inquest is who died, where they died, and, what time they died, and the cause of death. Now, they have gone into some of the details because it's obviously a big event, but they're not obliged to question the official story, and any evidence that is presented is not really scrutinised. There isn't actually a jury. It's simply a process by which the coroner can explain the deaths to the families and hope they stop asking questions. So, they'll say, a bomb went off in this carriage and this killed this many people, blah blah blah. Here's exhibit B, and it might be a photo of the train. Nobody's there to question this photo. Nobody's there saying, where's the close-up shot of the blast site? Nobody's there really asking questions. It's basically just a presentation of what they already think, and we can like it or lump it. Counsel to the inquest is a guy named Hugo Keith, and he seems to be the media talking head in all of this. A lot of the mainstream media quotes are coming from him, and a couple I've highlighted which I think shows his mentality are as follows. He says, some of the questions may never fully be answered, and some may of course fall outside the scope of these inquests. But what we can say is that a great deal of time, energy and resources has been devoted to finding out what happened to each of the deceased. Well, we know what physically happened. They were blown to bits. But I think we need to go a bit deeper than that, Mr. Keith. He continues, thus, it is to be hoped that these inquests, however unpleasant and distressing as they will be, will assist in answering the family's questions in allaying some of the rumours and suspicion generated by conspiracy theorists. So note how it's the conspiracy theorists that are supposedly making this unpleasant and distressing for the family members, and how conspiracy theorists are generating this suspicion and the rumours. First off, conspiracy theorists, if we're going to use that term, are just normal upstanding members of the public that take time to actually look at what is being presented to them by the media. The only reason there's doubts about the official story is because the government haven't been open and honest to the people to begin with. It took us evil conspiracy theorists to correct the official narrative train time for them, but we're the evil conspiracy theorists. The train they supposedly got didn't run that day. People point it out, and they're the conspiracy theorists. It's stupid. It's the government's incompetent official narrative and the fact that they've taken so long to release any evidence to back up their claims that causes the rumours and suspicion. If they'd done their job in the first place, family members wouldn't have to go through all of this. They wouldn't have to turn to books and documentaries and websites to get further information. But of course that's the way they're going to spin it. They're going to spin it against the conspiracy theorists because they can't be doing with addressing what we bring to the table. It costs them money, it opens up a whole can of worms. So even if some of these people have doubts, they're just going to not go there. It's easy for them to shout conspiracy theorist and move on. Well, I'm not prepared to move on, and I hope lots of other people aren't prepared to move on because there is lots of questions that still need answering. And this term conspiracy theorist, the last time I checked, most of the credible research into 7/7, from july7th.co.uk, my film and lots of other people, it's not really about an alternative theory. It's just about exposing the government's own theory that has a lot of holes in it. Sorry for, pointing out their errors. Maybe I should just drink some more fluoride and have done with it. By definition, it's the government that are really the conspiracy theorists because they have a theory that the alleged bombers were involved in a conspiracy to commit terrorism. If I state a fact, like the British government allowed Muslim radicals to operate in Britain under a policy called the Covenant of Security, throughout the 90s and into the 2000s, that's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact stated by intelligence officials and other experts. And it's something that should be openly discussed with intellectual debate. I'm sick of it. So what I did in part of an article was basically a rebuttal of this Keith guy. You can check it out on WideShut.co.uk. It's still on the main page as the head story. Because he quoted in an article entitled 7/7 Conspiracy Theories Have No Basis, which is in the independent newspaper. I kind of joked that it isn't so independent. We're the real independent media. But anyway, it's clear by that title that this is just to shut down any alternative information. And the article says that the inquest was told, this is what they told the inquest, conspiracy theories about the 7/7 attacks have no basis in evidence. Well, first off, I'd say what evidence? They always go on about this evidence, and the official narrative makes all these claims, but they've never really been open and honest about what the evidence is. We're just supposed to take their word for it. And this article goes on, there was nothing to support theories that the explosions on the London Underground were connected to a power surge or that the bombs went off under the tube carriages. Mr. Keith said it was important to mention the ideas put forward by conspiracists who have written at length to the inquest team in order to dispel common myths about the attacks. He said, there is, we feel, a danger that the continuation of such claims might needlessly distress the bereaved families, as well as distracting attention away from the issues that we have identified as being worthy of further investigation. You see, what a small group of government-appointed officials have identified as worthy of further investigation. It's a big joke. But see how he lumps things together. He lumps the idea that power surges somehow caused all the damage, which I've not heard from any credible research or in any conspiracy theory. And he lumps that idea with that bombs were placed under the train, which is actually quite an established theory with witness testimony, so it has evidence to back it up. But let's start with this power surge thing, because even though I've never heard that people thought this was the main cause of the attacks, just a power surge caused it, I've never heard that. But the new evidence shown to the inquest clearly shows why the media did report that power surges happened early that morning. And it seems to have been a PR stunt by the train control centre.